Welcome to Herdley. The book is distilled into 3 stories, giving you the key ideas in minutes. Today we study together Kendra Adachi's The Lazy Genius Way, Embrace What Matters, Ditch What Doesn't, and Get Stuff Done, in which we probe into mastering the power of decide once, why perfectionism is the enemy of authenticity, how small steps create big changes. Kendra Adachi is the New York Times best-selling author and host of the nationally ranked Lazy Genius podcast. Don't go away. Herdley, the editor, will be right back. We begin with a story about a woman trying to manage her chaotic Mondays. The week always seemed to start with a stressful rush, breakfasts, school outfits, lunches, all pulling her in multiple directions. Every Monday was a fresh, overwhelming start with new decisions to make, draining her before the week even really began. So she took a radical approach. She decided once. She created a Monday uniform, simple, reliable clothes that took no thought, and set a standard Monday breakfast, something nutritious but easy to prepare. With fewer decisions to make, her mornings became calmer. She knew what to wear, what to make, and what her Monday would look like. Choosing what to wear uses just a sliver of thinking, but a sliver all the same, she reflects. By making these decisions once, she gained clarity and energy for the more important things that filled her Mondays. The lesson here is clear. Make small, thoughtful decisions ahead of time to free up your mental bandwidth for bigger, more meaningful tasks. Start with a routine that is easy to implement but makes a noticeable impact, like choosing a workout fit or a set meal plan for specific days. With fewer choices to weigh, you'll find yourself with more focus to tackle what truly matters. But letting go of constant decision-making is only one part of the puzzle. It brings us to a woman who tried so hard to be perfect, especially when hosting a breakfast for her colleagues. Determined to impress, she spent hours preparing stuffed French toast without following a recipe. Instead of asking for help or sticking to a simpler dish, she decided she needed to create the best breakfast ever, all on her own. Unfortunately, the breakfast was a disaster, overcooked and bland, and she was mortified. She had poured all her energy into something that didn't really matter, striving for perfection when good enough would have sufficed. "I thought I needed to be impressive, to show everyone I could do it all," she admits, realizing later that her perfectionism had stolen both her time and peace. This is a perfect reminder that perfection often stands in the way of authenticity and connection. Perfectionism drains your energy, while letting go of it allows you to focus on what truly counts. So, instead of striving for flawlessness, aim for what is practical and meaningful in your life. Ask for help when needed, simplify where possible, and remember that showing up as your real self is often more valuable than trying to be perfect. This attitude makes the way for more genuine relationships and a lot less stress. As we follow this thread of perfectionism, we land on the story of a woman determined to incorporate yoga into her daily routine. She had all the equipment, the apps, the clothes, but never found the time to follow through on her goal. After months of trying and failing to establish a practice, she shifted her approach. Instead of committing to an hour-long session, she decided to do just one down dog pose every day. It was a small, almost laughable step, but it was something she could stick with. Day after day, she got on the mat for a single pose, which eventually turned into a few more poses, and slowly, a yoga practice developed. Over time, this habit became ingrained, growing into a consistent part of her life. Small steps matter, and they're easier to keep taking, she learned. Here's where the power of small steps truly shines. The lesson here is that consistent, small actions can build into something bigger. Whether it's yoga, reading, or decluttering your home, start with a step so small it's impossible to quit. Once that habit is established, it becomes a building block for further growth. These stories tie together a powerful truth. Deciding once, letting go of perfection, and embracing small steps all create room for more meaningful and less stressful lives. The uniformed Monday gave structure to chaos. The failed breakfast showed that perfection isn't necessary for connection. And the daily down dog taught us that small, steady actions eventually lead to big changes. Together, these lessons underscore the importance of stripping away unnecessary complexities to focus on what truly matters. As the editor of Herdley, through these stories, we see that our future actions don't need to be overwhelming or grandiose to make a difference. A thoughtful choice here, a less-than-perfect effort there, and a tiny, consistent habit are enough to transform the way we live. Each story comes from the most representative real-life cases selected by the Herdley team from this book. There are at least 10 more stories in the book that are equally worth your time. If you wish to dive deeper, we recommend purchasing the full book. Finally, share a sentence from the book to end today's reading. Let's wrap up by revisiting the 3 key ideas: deciding once, letting go of perfection, and embracing small steps. These principles are at the heart of living a life focused on what truly matters. One final story to highlight this comes from a woman overwhelmed by holiday stress. Every year, she found herself drowning in the endless tasks of decorating, buying gifts, and planning events. The pressure to create a perfect holiday experience for her family left her exhausted and disconnected from the joy of the season. Then, she decided to change her approach. She chose just a few traditions that really mattered to her family and simplified everything else. She set boundaries around her time and energy, deciding in advance which activities to commit to. This shift allowed her to actually enjoy the holiday season with her loved ones, without the constant stress. She found joy in the small moments, baking cookies, watching a favorite movie together, and let go of the need for everything to be perfect. This story reinforces the book's core message. Life becomes more meaningful when you focus on what truly matters, let go of unrealistic expectations, and take small, intentional steps. These principles aren't just about efficiency, they're about creating space for joy, connection, and authenticity. By adopting this mindset, we can simplify our lives and free ourselves from unnecessary stress. The next time you're overwhelmed, remember to focus on what really matters.